Hello, welcome back to my kitchen. My name is Rabbi Finn and you are here for the last ever Shemot snacks. Why? Well, because this week we have a double portion Vayakhel Pekudei. 2 portions, 2 parshiot in one sitting. And if you read these are the last 2 portions of this book of Exodus, of the book of Shemot, and at the end we say Chazak, Chazak, Benit Chazek, may we be strong. Now, if you read this week's portion, you're going to get a really big sense of deja vu. Why? Well, because we're speaking about the construction, again, of the tabernacle of the Mishkan. Very, 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 very similar to the words that appear in Teruma and Tzaver. And so, just like for Teruma, we did a Shabbat themed dish. Today, we're going to be doing a Shabbat themed dish, and this is going to be the Sephardi version, because we did a very Ashkenazi dish, cholent. You can't get more Ashkenazi than cholent for Teruma. So today we are doing Tbeet. Tbeet or not Tbeet? That is not the question, because we are definitely doing Tbeet. If you've never heard of Tbeet, let me tell you what it is. It is the most amazing chicken dish ever. It is slow cooked, succulent chicken, stuffed with and surrounded by a bed of fragrantly spiced rice. It is beautiful. Now, Sephardim, or certainly some parts of Sephardi culture, will do this as a Shabbat meal. Why? Because you're not allowed to cook on Shabbos, as we're going to explain in a moment. And you can cook it for 24 hours on a really low heat, like 90 degrees Celsius. We're not going to do the 24-hour version. We're going to do the 8-hour version, which is cooked at a slightly higher temperature, but still packs a huge punch full of flavour. So I'll explain a little bit more about this week's portion, but let's start making our Tbeet. What you need is a dish. Now, ideally, you will use a cast iron casserole dish. The observant among you will notice that I don't have a cast iron casserole dish, so I'm going to be using a glass casserole dish. If you do have a cast iron dish, you're going to get the most amazing crust at the bottom of your rice. Alas, I'm not going to be able to enjoy that, but the flavour is still going to be there. I'm going to do everything pretty much in the one bowl. So you need 2 proper tablespoons of tomato paste. In fact, for the sake of instructions, let's call it 3 tablespoons of tomato paste. I'm going to be making enough for about 3 to 4 people, so I'm using a 1.5 kilo chicken. So this will be, if you want to make it for more, use a bigger chicken, increase the rice, and probably increase the cooking the cooking time by a couple of hours. So in there's 3 tablespoons of tomato paste. I want to add in 2 tablespoons of oil to my 3 tablespoons of tomato paste. I'm using olive oil here. Probably doesn't actually matter what type of oil you are using. Give the spoon a bit of a wipe so that it is not going to get all of those oily, tomato pasty stuff into your spices, because now we're going to add all the spices. And trust me, it might sound like there's a lot of ingredients. You know, I'm going a bit tartaleggi-ish with like 1 billion and 2 ingredients, but they all work, they all add something, and they all should be stuff that you have in your store cupboard. So we're going to add in a tablespoon of cumin. Just 1 tablespoon of cumin into the spice mix. So cumin's done. A tablespoon of cardamom powder. Now, some people find cardamom powder a bit difficult, in which case maybe just put in a couple of teaspoons. You really do want to go try and find it. It's found in all the kosher shops these days. So, a tablespoon of cardamom powder. Gonna add in a tablespoon of turmeric to our spice mix. Gonna give that little bit of yellowness, but also a wonderful, mild, heaty flavour to the dish. So, a tablespoon of turmeric. Want to do half a tablespoon of paprika, normal paprika, and there's a reason I'm only doing half now, because we're going to do half later. So half a tablespoon of normal paprika and a couple of teaspoons of smoked paprika. Now, I know this is not authentic, but I love the flavour of smoked paprika, and I think it just adds something to this dish. So 1, 2. I did this dish and I put a picture of it on Instagram a few weeks ago, and I got so many requests for the recipe that I couldn't actually resist. If you want to find me on Instagram, just search for me, Rabbi Finn, or the Rabbi Who Cooks, and you'll be able to find me. Side for the self-plugging there. We're going to do half a teaspoon of allspice. This is really completely optional. You don't need to add in this, and you don't necessarily need to add in the next ingredient if you don't want to, but I think it adds something. Again, half a teaspoon of cinnamon. Once you've done that, put all your spices to the side, grab some pepper. You want to do a really good, let's say 10 grams of fresh pepper. And finally, this again is completely optional. I'm actually not sure as I do it if it's really necessary, but I'm going to put in a couple of teaspoons of chicken stock powder. Right, so all our spices are done. What's next? Well, you want to give it a really, really, really good mix. So, grab your spoon. There it is. Grab a spoon and just give it all a really, really good mix together. It's your spice base. And the reason I like to do it all in this one dish is because it means you're going to lose none of that amazing flavour. So all the spices are mixed in. Add into here 250 grams of long grain rice. And give it all another mix. And this is going to mean that your rice has the most incredible, amazing, fabulous, wondrous flavour. Now, as I do this, we're going to add in 2 chopped onions. They're diced, they're chopped relatively finely, but not the world's finest onion, chopping from me, and 4 cloves of chopped garlic. Now, I mentioned a couple of weeks ago that the tabernacle and Shabbat are inextricably linked because the commandment for Shabbos and the commandment to build the tabernacle appear one after the other. That actually appears in this week's portion. Our portion starts as follows. Vayakhel Moshe, Moses gathered together everybody and he tells them 2 laws. The first law is about Shabbos, and then straight away he commands them to make this tabernacle, to make this mishkan for God. And the rabbis very much learned that because we go into so much detail about the tabernacle, everything that was done to create the tabernacle cannot be done on Shabbos. But we have one specific law for Shabbos this week. Chop up 2 tomatoes. That isn't the law that appears in this week, but that's the next stage. Once you've added in your onions, you want to dice 2 tomatoes. The law that we are told specifically about Shabbat is Lo tavaru esh b'chol moshvotechem. Let me just read you that. Sheshet yamim ta'aseh melachah, for 6 days you shall do work. Vayom hashvi'i yiyeh lachem kodesh, on the 7th day it will be holy. Shabbat Shabbaton la'Adonai. Kol ha'oseh bo melacha yumat. It is the 7th day is holy. It is a holy day. It's a day of rest for Shabbos. You are not allowed to work. Then we're told one more specific law about Shabbos. Lo tavaru esh b'chol moshvotechem. B'yom hashvat, you should not bring fire or create fire throughout your dwelling places. This is the prohibition to create a fire on Shabbos, which is one of the root prohibitions for not being able to cook on Shabbos, because you're not allowed to create a flame on Shabbos. However, if you have a flame existing pre-Shabbos and you put the food on before Shabbos starts, like this Tbeet would have been done and is still done by many people around the world, then it is okay because you're not cooking on Shabbos. The cooking element is going into the oven before Shabbos, and that is why it is okay. There are certain rules about how much it needs to be cooked by, for which you need to speak to your local rabbi, and it's too complicated to go into on a very quick cooking video. The Hasidic masters have a great way of taking verses of the Torah and adding a second or third meaning to them, one which is supposed to pack a punch. And they take this phrase, Lo tavaru esh b'chol moshvotechem, do not create a fire in your dwelling places. And they think, what is fire? Fire is something that is really catchy. And then when it started and starts to catch, it's really difficult to get back in its box. It's really difficult to end, to put out. And they say, what is that similar to? Lashon hara, to spreading gossip. When gossip is out there, it spreads like wildfire. And they say, what's likely to happen? Shabbos. Shabbos is a day of rest. Shabbos is a day when people aren't working. And what do? They meet each other. Back in the days pre-corona, they socialise, and there's a really high chance that they will gossip. And this is a warning not only to not create fire, but also not to gossip, because gossip spreads like wildfire. Lo tavaru esh b'chol moshvotechem, on Shabbat, do not spread gossip. Do not be tempted to have a chinwag with your friends in which you're going to start saying things that you've heard in the marketplace with your friends, because it will spread like wildfire. And we've got to be careful that when we are back to our normal lives of social interaction, we don't fall into that trap of spreading gossip, either on purpose or inadvertently, because that is really, 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 really quite bad in the eyes of Judaism. my spice mix is done, my rice mix is done. So I've added in my 2 chopped tomatoes, all the spices, the tomato paste, the onions. This is brilliant. Now, I'm going to push it all to one side because what I'm going to do now is get my chicken. Before I started filming this, I got a chicken and I browned it on both sides. I browned it because I wanted to get some flavour into the chicken skin as well, and a little bit of crispness into it. So, grab your chicken. And what you want to do is put your chicken, open up the cavity a bit and stuff some of this rice mixture into the cavity. It's going to go over the place. Just accept mess and you'll clean it up afterwards. Between you and me, the best flavoured rice of this whole dish is the stuff that appears inside the chicken's cavity. It will expand out, it will get all that chickenness flavour. Now, once you've done that, pick up your chicken, try not to let it break apart on you completely. Push the rice around the outside and lay the chicken. Okay, once you've done that, you want to obviously wash your hands and then get 500 ml of boiling water and pour it into the dish. I like to pour it into the rice element first, so 500 millilitres of water. Trust me, this will be enough. And then the final thing, I mentioned before, the paprika. I don't like to put all the paprika in at the very beginning. I like to get the final bit of paprika, the final tablespoon or half a tablespoon, and just sprinkle it over the top at this point. In fact, I'm just going to do it by sight. Just sprinkle it over the top because what it's going to do is going to give it all that most amazing red colour when it is finished, as well as some beautiful flavour. So there it is, done. Put a lid on it. You want a lid with some silver foil to make sure it is tight fitting. You don't want any steam to be escaping. And you're going to cook this now for 8 hours at 110 degrees Celsius. That's, you heard me right, 8 hours, 110 degrees Celsius. And I will see you once it is done. I am so excited to show you this. After 8 hours cooking at 110 degrees Celsius, this is the final product. To beat or not to beat? Definitely to beat. This is incredible. I'm super excited how this has turned out. Let me show you close up what it looks like. You've got the amazing smell, the most amazing aroma. I wish you could smell what I can smell at the moment. This is the most soft, beautiful, succulent chicken. I just tested it a little bit before to check it was done, and it felt like butter, even though obviously it's not butter because this is poultry. Meat and milk doesn't match, but we've got this beautiful rice in here. The stuffing is literally falling out of the chicken. The chicken looks incredible. It smells amazing. I have to say, this is the perfect Shemot snacks for us to end this series on. I hope you've enjoyed this series as much as I've enjoyed eating my way through the book of Shemot. This to beat, to celebrate Vayakhel, Pekudei, to celebrate the requirement for us not to create a fire within the camp, to celebrate the creation of the Mishkan, to celebrate Shemot, to celebrate everything that has happened. Give this a go. Let me know how you get on. I hope you have a great week. Shabbat Shalom.